Hi friends, welcome back to At Home with Holly. My name is Holly and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Today we are going to be planting our onions from seed and also our shallots. And then I have a few more Rudbeckia that need to go into some pots too. So we're going to get those started from seed as well. I've got a new kind of Rudbeckia actually from Baker Creek that I just got in the mail. I've been waiting for it. So today's a big seed starting day and I'm really glad that you're here with me. So let's get started. So I filled up some pots when I was down here last night, and the soil was pre-moistened, but we're going to go ahead and get another bit of spray on these. So there are 3 types of onions that you can start, and there's long day, short day, and intermediate onions. And depending on where you live, that is the kind of onion that is right for your area. So I live in Northwest Ohio, and so the long day onions are the ones that work really well in my area. And that just depends on um, the number of hours they get during the day and when that shifts and all that kind of stuff. So basically the northern half of the United States is long day onions, and short day onions are in the southern half of the United States. And that works out really well for me. I'm fortunate because that means I can grow the storage onions, which are Patterson and Red Wing onions. I'll pop some pictures of those up on the screen. And the Patterson and Red Wing onions are delicious. They grow large and they're easy to store, and I love them. So we're going to be growing those, and then we're also going to be growing shallots. I grow shallots from the shallots that I grew originally every year. I just replant them. You grow them over the winter, you harvest them early summer, you dry them out, and then you can pick the biggest ones and replant them. The ones I have been planting have been the more round ones, and these Zebrun, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, shallots that we're going to be planting today are the like banana style, I guess. I'll show you we're going to be planting this style, and I'm excited about it. So we're going to get those, and then of course our Rudbeckia. So we're going to get this set up. So like I was saying, there's long day and short day and intermediate onions. And you can also grow them from sets as well. I should mention the different types of onions you grow from sets. Referring to sets, I'm talking about these little mini onions that you can pick up at your garden center and plant in the ground to grow onions. So the difference between starting from seed and growing the actual like plants that have the green tops and the white bottoms, when you grow those, onions are a biannual. That means that they grow one year one way, and the second year they grow a different way, right? So the first year they send up the green, and they bulb out on the bottom. And then the second year, they're going to throw up in the middle of their stalk. They're going to throw up what is a seed flower so that they can continue the life cycle, right? So the reason I prefer to grow from seed is, number one, it's really easy and cheap, very affordable. And number two, you're less likely to get them to go to seed early. And when they go to seed early, they still taste fine, but you can't use them for storage. So they don't bulb up as big, and they don't last as long once they've been cured. So for me, I prefer to grow them from seed. When you grow them from seed, you are going to sow them very thick in some pots, and they're going to grow up and they're going to look like grass growing. And you can actually trim them and give them a haircut a couple times so that they keep sending energy back down. And then when they get about this tall, you're going to pull the whole pot outside and just pull them apart one by one, and it won't damage their roots. They're going to separate. So you can have like 50, 60 onions in a pot like this and pull them all apart one by one and just stick them in the ground as soon as you can work it, basically. So my last frost date is the end of April. Really, we all usually wait till May in case there's a freak freeze or whatever. But the predicted last frost date is the end of April, last week of April. So we'll get these in the ground like late March, early April, and they'll start growing. So you want to get these started now. Last year I started them about February, I think 8th or 9th, and they were good size, and I had really good luck growing them. But I want to get an extra week on them, an extra week to 10 days on them this time, so that they get even bigger. So what we're going to do first, and by the way, onion seed does not, a lot of seed you buy it the first year and you can keep using it for years and years and years and years. There is no like expiration date on seeds. The germination rate just goes down. One of the two types of things that the germination rate goes way down is carrots and onions. So onions, the first year will have like 95, 90% germination rate. The next year it's like 60. So I do have a little bit left over from last year's seed packet, and then I did buy new seed this year as well for the onions. For the shallots, since I'm switching types of shallot, I don't have, this is this year's seed. So we'll get started with, we'll actually do the shallots first. So you really want to label when you do onions and shallots because all the seeds look the same. You won't be able to tell the difference until they start growing, especially if it's red versus white. You'll notice that. But they all the seeds look the same. So we'll get started with our shallots first. And you can see what these seeds look like. So what we're going to do, actually, let me start by saying this is ProMix. I use the ProMix with the mycorrhiza, I don't know how you pronounce it, but the ProMix seed starting mix. You can use potting soil if you want. Potting soil just sometimes has some bigger chunks of organic material in it, and I like just the nice soft fluffy stuff for my seeds personally, but you can use whatever you have. I've also used potting mix and like sifted it a little bit. So what I am going to do is kind of like smush this down a little bit so that it's a nice flat surface that we're going into. I'm not trying to really compact the soil. I'm just trying to get a nice flat surface on top. So now we're going to do our shallots first. So this pack has, well, it says 150, and knowing in my gardener, there's probably like 200. But I'm going to sprinkle this whole pack between 3. These are our 4-inch pots. So we're going to do probably about 50 seeds in each one. There we go. Done with our shallots. Now we're going to do our Patterson onions, and I'll go ahead and cover all of these at the same time when we're done. So next we'll do our Patterson onions. I'm going to use the last year's seed up first, and then I will also sprinkle some of this year's seed. There's not very much seed left from last year. There are 250 seeds in a packet. There are probably about 50 seeds left. So I'll just go ahead and sprinkle this between the 3 to use them up. Maybe they'll germinate, maybe they won't, but at least we'll have used up last year's, and then we have this year's as a backup. I'm gonna grab some washi tape. When I'm resealing my seed packets, sometimes I just grab whatever I have on hand, but if I have the ability, I like to do washi tape, because washi tape you can reuse a lot of times and it still stays sticky. So I like to do washi tape when I can. Okay, Patterson onions, check. Now let's do our red wing onions. These did really well. Well, Patterson and Red Wing did really well last year, so I'm excited about them for this year. Really yummy, really pretty. Just same thing. I'm going to use up last year's seeds first. And then I'm going to also do, oh, I have a ton of seeds from last year. I'm going to do this. I'm going to mix them both together because, like I said, the germination. So the germination, Johnny's seeds, if I'm going to get a hybrid, I get them from Johnny's. And Johnny Seeds posts their germination rate right on the envelope. So, like, for example, the Pattersons last year were 95%. This year, 92%. The Red Wings last year were 85%, and this year, 92%. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of this year's as well for the Red Wings to make sure that we get, you know, some really good germination. And there we go. Actually, I'm going to use all the seeds. Okay, so last year, I remember now, I have been doing this way where you sprinkle it up in a larger pot and then just to save space instead of doing individual cells. And then last year I was like, I want to try the individual cells, see if that's worth it. So I actually used this one right behind me, and I did not like that way. It just seemed like a waste of space and stuff. So I remember I did place individual seeds last time, which is why I probably have so many of the Red Wings. I did that, and then I did a second sowing because I did not care for that method. To each his own. Just for me, this makes more sense. And since they separate so easily, why not? You know? So I will save these seeds from last year. And there we go. Okay, so now we have all of those ready to go. Now next is my next round of Rudbeckia. And I'm so obsessed with Rudbeckia. This is Cherry Brandy. This is the picture that's on the packet. And I'll also pop some of the other pictures from Baker Creek's website up on the screen. Now these take a while, I have found. They take a while as well to germinate. And the seeds are very small. So I'm going to go ahead and flatten this out. If there's any big chunks, I'll take it off. Okay. These seeds are small. Not as small as the strawberry seeds that grew this year, or the petunia seeds. Oh, I can't wait to show you guys what the petunia seeds are doing. We started petunia seeds together last week, and they said they would take like 2 weeks, but half of them are already up, and I'm excited because I wasn't sure, you know, they're the tiniest seeds around, and I wasn't sure when we planted them they were actually going to come up, and they did. It's so funny, as a gardener, I know they're gonna, oops, that was the end of the roll. As a gardener, I know that they're gonna come up. Things want to grow. But every year when I plant teeny tiny seeds, I'm always like, man, I hope they come up. And every year they do. So, okay. So I'm going to get these sprayed in, and then I will cover them. I switch once I have a little pump sprayer that's like a half-gallon pump sprayer, and I use that usually to water things in. But then once I get this many trays going, I have my 2-gallon pump sprayer, and this is just such an easier way to water when you're having to water the tops. Now, I do prefer bottom watering because I think it makes the roots reach down and strong, healthy. When they go down for water, you just make sure you don't have a lot of problems. You don't have as much fungus or mold or all that kind of stuff. So I do prefer bottom watering. However, when seeds are germinating, you have to keep the top moist. So, because they germinate on top. And then once they've germinated and their roots are starting to go down, then I begin bottom watering. That means I'll have nice, healthy plants. Okay. We're going to get this covered in some vermiculite. So the onions, shallots, Rudbeckia, they don't need covered with soil after you plant them. You can just surface sow them basically. I sometimes will cover the medium or larger seeds for sure. Like I'll bury them however deep they say to bury in the packet. But when they're small, like the seeds that we just planted today and basically all the seeds that we've planted this whole season so far besides artichokes, you can just put them right on the surface and either cover them lightly with a little bit of potting soil, or you can use the vermiculite. I prefer to use the vermiculite because it not only does a little bit of covering, but it also provides them like a moisture control, if this makes sense. So you'll see me do this almost every time that I plant something. I will sprinkle a layer of vermiculite because the light can still get through, but it keeps the moisture level consistent right on top of the soil where plants need the moisture level to be consistent in order to germinate. So I always moisten, then do vermiculite, then give them one more spray. Okay, let's decide which shelf to put this on. Put them here. They don't need lights to germinate, but I need lights to see what's going on. A couple other updates. Let me bring you in so you can see the rest of the things that we've done. We've got lots of birthdays and stuff, so I want to show you what all has been growing and some of the changes that we've made. So, the first big change, sweet potatoes. You don't have to, you can grow them, and I usually cover them because they like to start in darkness, but I was banging the light every time, and you can start them without them being in darkness. You can start them under grow lights. As long as they have the heat mat, they'll come up in like 2 to 4 weeks. So I did take the cover off so it was easier for me to get in there and water them and that kind of stuff because I didn't want them to dry out with the heat mat on. So I did take the cover off those. They haven't sprouted yet because it's only been a minute. But so they're still up here. We just put our onions and Rudbeckia there. Down here we have our what are these? Petunias, some violas, basically everything that hasn't yet germinated. It's on a heat mat and some lights. Down there we have our first tray of alpine strawberries, second tray of strawberries, third tray of strawberries, Grogu, of course, the chia pet. And over here, this is what I wanted to show you guys. This is the stuff that's been growing. Let me pull you in closer. So after they germinate, I take them off of the heat mat and I put them on one of the shelves that has double lights. So I used to do just one light bulb and it's fine, it works, but they tend to like lean and get leggy wanting to get closer to the light. So I put 2 light bulbs really close to them, and as they get taller, I'll bring the lights up higher and higher, but for right now, that is the perfect height for them. So since we have things that are actually growing, they're past just germinating. This is when I like to turn the fan on low, just an oscillating fan, turn on low, not blowing directly on anything, but definitely just rotating around. It makes your seedlings really strong to have movement. Otherwise, they're going to go outside and it's going to be windy and they're going to be shocked. So this just helps build really nice, strong seedlings, and then also really helps to control the moisture, things that are bound to happen from starting seeds inside. So this helps cut down on, algae and mold and all the things that are going to happen eventually, no matter what you do. It just kind of cuts down on that, keeps the air moving, keeps everything a little bit fresh and clean. So I took a second to clean up and then we're ready to go. Something that I've really been trying to stay on top of this year is putting away the seed packets. I have this really bad habit of just leaving them all out where I can see them so that I can look at them and dream about the garden and, put them in piles of what I want to do and where I want to put them and all that kind of stuff. And I need to remind myself to just put them back where I found them every time so I can keep a hold of all the seeds. Although there are a few out right here that are special. I forgot to tell you guys that I did spend some time last night sorting out all the peppers and all the cabbages and kales and stuff and brassica that I'm going to be starting in the next week or so. So I'm excited to have you guys with me for this journey. I love spending time with you guys. So I just want to thank you guys so much for taking your time out of day and watching me plant seeds and us dream of our 2024 garden together. So I appreciate all the likes and the shares and the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. I can't wait to see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Bye, my friends.